fog was thick and silent. Not even the wind dared to blow. Trees stood like broken ghosts, their branches twisted from the last bombing run. Cole, a human soldier, moved carefully through the dead forest, boots crunching over black ash and burnt leaves. His helmet scanner showed no heat signatures, no movement, no signs of life. He was alone, or so he thought. Cole had come here to scout the edge of the battlefield, looking for lost drones or intel chips. The enemy had retreated days ago. This place, they said, was empty now. Nothing left but smoke and silence. But something didn't feel right. Then he heard it. A sound soft, almost too soft to notice. It was not metal, not machine. It was not a beast or bird. It was something else. A cry, faint, strained. It came from deeper in the trees. Near a cracked hill, where old alien bunkers used to hide. Cole froze, raised his rifle, scanned the area again. Still nothing. The sound came again. A whimper. Maybe a child's. Cole's heart beat faster. He shouldn't investigate. His orders were clear. No contact with survivors, especially non-humans. The war had already cost too much. That sound kept calling him. Not a trap, not a trick. It was pain. It's real helpless pain. He moved slowly toward the sound, rifle ready. The fog thickened. Branches clawed at his armor. Then he saw something beneath a fallen tree. A small figure. No, two figures. One was taller. A woman. Clearly alien. Her skin was pale, violet, marked with bruises and blood. Her leg was trapped under a heavy branch. She was barely awake, one arm wrapped around a smaller figure, a child. The child looked up with glowing, tear-filled eyes. He was scared, his tiny hands clutching his mother's torn cloak. The woman tried to lift her head, but her strength was gone. She didn't speak. She only looked at Cole, her face, full of fear, pain, and something else. Hope. Cole stood frozen. This was wrong. He wasn't supposed to help. This wasn't his mission. He was just a soldier, not a savior. But when he looked into the child's eyes, he couldn't walk away. He knelt beside them. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said, softly, even though they couldn't understand him. The child buried his face into his mother's chest. The woman gasped in pain. Her mouth opened, but no words came, only blood. She was dying. Cole dropped his rifle and grabbed the branch. It was heavy, soaked in mud and twisted metal. He pushed with all his strength. His armor joints creaked. Back muscles screamed, but finally, the branch rolled off. The woman cried out, a sharp sound of pain and relief. Cole checked her leg broken, badly. He pulled out a med gel and injected it into her thigh. It wasn't much, but it would slow the bleeding. He glanced around. The fog made it hard to see, but danger could be close. Drones, soldiers, anything. He needed to move them. "All right, kid," he whispered, looking at the child. "We're getting out of here?" The woman tried to lift her hand. She touched his arm, weakly shaking her head as if telling him to leave her. Save the child, not both. Cole grabbed both of them anyway. He lifted the child into his arms and wrapped the mother's arm around his shoulder. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten in days. The child clung to him, shaking but silent. Moved fast, using the trees for cover. He didn't speak, didn't think. He just moved. His training took over. They reached a small crack in the hillside, an old shelter from an earlier war. Cole kicked the door open. Dust and cold greeted them. Set the child down first, then lowered the woman gently. Inside, it was dark and damp. Old crates, rusted gear, and broken lights filled the space, but it was safe. For now, he lit a small glow stick and checked the woman again. She was breathing, but just barely. My eyes stayed locked on him. She still didn't trust him, but she wasn't pushing him away either. The child crawled beside her and held her hand. Cole opened a protein pack and gave the child a bite. The kid chewed slowly, confused but too hungry to stop. He sat back and took a breath. What had he just done? He'd broken orders, carried an alien, helped the enemy or what was left of it, but he didn't feel regret. He felt something else. Like this was exactly what he was meant to do. The woman closed her eyes. The child curled beside her. Outside, the fog remained thick, but now, something had changed. Cole was no longer alone. He was a protector now, and someone was coming. He could feel it. The bunker walls were cold and wet, but they didn't matter anymore. Cole sat with his back against the rusted steel, his rifle across his lap, watching the alien woman fight for every breath. Her skin had lost its shine. Her forehead burned. With fever, Nemedjel helped slow the bleeding, but she was still too weak. Her broken leg was twisted and swelling fast. The child hadn't let go of her hand once. He had large silver eyes, glowing softly in the dark, and they kept flicking. To Cole, not in fear now, but confusion. The human who should have left them behind had stayed. The man with the black armor had carried them both without saying a word. And now, they waited together in silence, inside a room built for war, not for kindness. Cole checked his scanner. The signal was jammed. That wasn't good. Someone or something didn't want communication working in this zone. He opened a ration bar, snapped a piece, and handed it to the child. The boy looked at his mother first. She gave a faint nod, and only then did the child take it. Cole gave another piece to the mother. She didn't eat it. Instead, she broke it in two and gave the larger half back to her child. Cole watched that and frowned. She was starving. She was in pain, but she still chose to feed the child before herself. He had seen soldiers do less for their own comrades. Suddenly, the woman reached out, her hand trembling and placed. Her palm on Cole's chest plate, her fingers pressed over his heart. Not hard, just enough to be felt. She didn't speak, she couldn't, but her eyes said what her mouth couldn't. Thank you. And something else? Don't let him die. The child, not her. Cole didn't move. He understood. He remembered a moment long ago on Earth, a burning village, his squad too late. Only a little girl had survived, hiding under a collapsed roof. Her mother had done the same thing, shielding her with her own body. Some things were universal, no matter the species. Cole gently took her hand and lowered it to her side. You're not dying, he said softly. Not today. Suddenly, a faint buzz came from outside, high-pitched and mechanical. Cole's body tensed. Drones. He jumped to his feet and killed the glow stick, plunging the bunker into darkness. He peered through a crack in the wall. In the fog, barely visible, floated a small surveillance drone, not human-made. Enemy tech. Silent and deadly. It scanned the area, red lights flashing. Cole knew what came next. Scout drones meant troops weren't far behind. He turned back. The mother was awake again, alert now, her eyes wide with fear. She heard it too. Struggled to sit up, groaning from the pain. She tried to stand, but collapsed with a hiss of pain. Cole knelt beside her. We need to move. Now. The child whimpered as she tried again, but her leg wouldn't hold. Cole looked around. There was no stretcher, no transport, nothing he could use. So he did what he had done before. He picked her up, cradled her against his armor, then held the child's hand. Follow me, he whispered. The child nodded, small, brave, and shaking. They slipped out the back entrance of the bunker, deeper into the forest. Cole moved quickly but carefully, following old trails from years past. His training kicked in silent steps, wide eyes, rifle ready. The drone passed above them once, then again. Each time, Cole pressed them into the dirt, barely breathing. Once it stopped. Its red light landed right on the child's back. The mother pulled the child close, shielding him with her arms. She didn't cry out. She didn't even flinch. Cole slowly reached up and tossed a metal bolt into the bushes. The drone turned, beeped, and flew toward the sound. They moved again. After nearly an hour, they reached another shelter, smaller. Cracked open from age, but hidden under thick roots and vines. Cole scanned the area. No signs of drones, no tracks, no heat signatures. He led them inside. The mother collapsed against a wall, breathing hard. The child curled beside her once. More, his tiny body shaking from fear and exhaustion. Cole shut the door and locked it. Then he turned to face them. He didn't know what planet they came from, what species they were, or what war had turned them into refugees. But he knew this. They were his responsibility now. He grabbed his last med patch and cleaned the mother's wounds again. She didn't resist this time. When he gave her water, she drank it. And when the child reached out and took Cole's hand, holding it tight in his tiny alien fingers, Cole didn't pull away. Outside, the drones flew by again. Inside, for the first time, they weren't just strangers hiding in a bunker. They were something else. They were beginning to feel like a family. The night brought no rest. The wind outside howled through broken trees, and somewhere in the fog, enemy drones buzzed like insects. Cole didn't sleep, sat near the shelter's broken hatch, rifle ready, eyes sharp. Checked the scanner. No solid heat signatures yet, but something was moving out there, slow and steady. Inside, the alien woman had drifted into an uneasy sleep. Her breathing was still weak. The child had curled beside her again, his tiny hand resting on her chest, as if afraid she might disappear. Cole tried not to look at them too long. Every time he did, the weight in his chest grew heavier. He had seen civilians die. He had seen children cry. But this was different. They weren't just strangers anymore. He stood up and quietly explored the shelter. It was smaller than the last one, maybe a recon post from a past war. Old crates were pushed against the walls, many marked with alien symbols, not from the enemy faction he'd fought before, but something older. One box was half open. Curious, Cole pried it fully open. Oh. Inside he found a smooth metallic object curved, glowing faintly along its edges. Not a weapon.
Oh.
Not a tool he recognized. But it pulsed like it was still alive. The moment he touched it, the entire room gave a soft hum. Lights flickered. The walls buzzed. The alien woman jolted awake. She tried to stand, her eyes wide with panic. She pointed at the object in Cole's hand, then pointed to the far wall where strange symbols were now glowing. Cole turned and froze. The wall wasn't a wall anymore. It was a door. The child stood up too, walking toward it slowly, as if drawn to something. He reached out with both hands and pressed them on a round panel near the center. The symbols changed, glowing brighter, and then the door slid open with a hiss. Behind it was a hidden chamber. Warm light poured out, golden and soft. There was no dust, no rust. It looked untouched, clean, alive. Cole stepped inside, weapon up, senses on high alert. What he saw made him stop. The room was full of alien tech, far more advanced than anything he'd seen, even during deep recon missions. Holographic panels floated midair, showing star charts and languages he couldn't read. In the center stood a large column with markings, many shaped like spirals, stars, and ... DNA strands. The woman entered behind him, leaning on the wall. For support, she motioned for Cole to place the glowing object on the column. He did. The tech lit up instantly. A hologram rose, showing a tall, humanoid figure. Its voice played in a deep, echoing language. The woman watched, tears in her eyes. Her lips moved as if silently speaking with it. Then she turned to Cole. She pointed to the DNA strand on the hologram, then pointed at him. Her face was serious. Her hand rested on the child's head. Cole didn't understand the words, but the meaning hit him like a punch to the chest. You are part of this. You are the key. The tech was ancient. It'd be thousands of years old. And for some reason, it responded to Cole, not the woman, not the child, only him. The woman slowly reached into her belt pouch and pulled out a small medallion. It shimmered with the same glow as the machine. She held it out to Cole, placing it in his palm, closing his fingers over it. She whispered something soft and looked into his eyes. She didn't need a translator. She trusted him with something sacred. Just then, the scanner beeped. Cole's heart jumped. 3 red blips appeared on the map, fast, heading straight toward them. He grabbed his rifle, pushed the woman and child back toward the main shelter room, and sealed the hidden chamber door behind them. He covered the entrance with debris. The last thing they needed was the enemy discovering that tech. He knelt near the hatch again, rifle ready. Seconds later, the sound of boots on wet dirt grew louder. Voices. Cole didn't understand the language, but the tone was clear. They were searching. He peeked through the crack in the door. 3 enemy soldiers in heavy armor, scanning, pointing. One of them stepped close, too close, right outside the shelter. Cole held his breath. The woman gripped her child tightly, hiding behind a crate, trying to keep him silent. The soldier raised his scanner, pointed it at the shelter wall. It beeped. Cole's grip tightened on the trigger. But before the soldier could move, his cums crackled. Another voice barked something urgent. The soldiers paused, then turned and left. Cole didn't move until their sounds vanished into the wind. He exhaled slowly, lowering his weapon. They had survived again, barely. But now it was clear. This wasn't just about protecting a mother and her child anymore. Something deep beneath this planet had awakened, and had chosen a human to carry it. The storm came fast, like a living thing crashing across the land. Lightning forked through the sky, blue and green flashes lighting up the broken trees. Acid rain started falling, not water, but a stinging mist that hissed on metal and burned. Skin. Cole pulled his coat tighter around the child and lifted the alien woman in his arms again. Her eyes were dull from pain, but her grip was still strong on his shoulder. They had no shelter left. The enemy patrols had doubled. 2 drones now circled the forest from the south, and at least 1 walker had been spotted in the distance. A 2-legged hunter mech that could smell body heat and fire plasma at anything that moved. The scanner kept glitching. The hidden chambers. Energy had interfered with it. Cole couldn't even call command if he wanted to. Not that it would help. Earth had written this planet off weeks ago. Rescue wasn't coming. His boots sloshed through mud and roots as he ran from tree to tree. Staying low, the child held tight to his armor, face buried in Cole's chest. Behind them, thunder cracked. In front of them, the storm darkened the world, like a curtain falling. They needed cover, and fast. Up ahead, something shimmered between 2 cliffs. At first it looked like a mirage, a wall of heat, a strange fog. No, it was a field. A distortion. In the air, like a veil, the alien woman tapped his arm and pointed. She whispered one word, full of warning. Cursed. Cole stopped. He looked at her, then at the veil. Whatever was beyond it. She feared it more than the enemy, but they had no other path. The enemy was closing in, the storm growing worse. He stepped forward. The moment they passed through the field, everything changed. No more wind. No more rain. Just silence. Dead silence. The world beyond the veil was dry. Dusty, filled with the bones of machines and starships. Shattered holes lay half-buried in cracked dirt. This was no forest. This was a graveyard, a ship graveyard. Cole turned slowly, taking in the wreckage. Titanic vessels from long-forgotten wars rested here. Melted and bent, their flags unrecognizable. Some bore symbols of old Earth alliances. Others were completely alien. None of them worked. But something. In this place still lived. Faint lights blinked deep inside the holes. Static danced across the air. The woman whispered again, her voice shaking. Ghost tech. Cole had heard stories. Areas where machines never fully shut down. Places where AI ran without orders for centuries, forming their own thoughts. Sometimes dangerous, sometimes protective, unpredictable. He carefully set the woman down inside the hollow of a broken engine shell. The child stayed beside her. Cole scanned the area. The enemy wouldn't follow easily. They feared this place, and it gave him time. He moved toward a nearby ship, one that looked familiar. Human design, old Earth logo on the side, half covered in dust and vines. He reached the hatch and wiped the seal. It blinked red, still had power. He pulled out the medallion the woman gave him. No, thought just instinct. He placed it against the scanner. The light turned. Green, the hatch opened. Inside was cold darkness. He entered slowly, footsteps echoing. Suddenly, lights flickered on. A female voice spoke through speakers.com, robotic and ancient. Authorized genetic code detected. Welcome, Defender. Cole stared at the console. The ship knew him, not by name, but by blood. Someone long ago had built this ship for someone like him, maybe even for him. The screen lit up with a map. This sector, their location, enemy forces, energy signatures. He spotted the drones. The walker. He saw everything and more. The map showed a path, a way out through the back of the graveyard, a hidden tunnel, once used for evacuations. But there was a warning symbol beside it. Instability, cave-ins, high radiation still. It was there only. Chance.Cole downloaded the data to his wrist pad and rushed back to the woman. She looked up as he returned, her eyes asking a silent question. Found a way out, he said, kneeling. But it's dangerous. She didn't argue. She tried to stand again, failing once more. He lifted her without hesitation. The child followed close, his hand gripping Cole's belt. They moved fast now, ducking under wings, climbing across cracked hulls, slipping between massive rusted parts. No drones came. No sounds followed, until they reached the tunnel entrance. Collapsed beams blocked half the path. Inside was pitch black. Cole activated a light on his shoulder and stepped in. The air grew hotter, dust hung thick. Small bits of falling metal clinked behind them. The tunnel groaned unstable. Halfway through, the ceiling above them trembled. Small quake hit. The ground shook. Cole threw himself over the woman and child. As debris rained down, he covered them with his body, shielded them as stones bounced off his armor. Pain shot through his back. When the dust cleared, they were still alive, and the path forward was open again. Cole stood slowly. Wincing, he turned to help them up, but something at the end of the tunnel caught his eye. A light, not from tech, from torches. Enemy patrol. They had found the tunnel too, and now the real fight would begin. The tunnel spat them out into a wide-open crater filled with smoke and silence. The storm had passed above, but here the sky looked darker. Tall, jagged rocks surrounded the area, and scattered between them were the remains of old warships. Some shattered like eggshells, others leaning like wounded beasts too tired to fall. Cole had seen battlefields before, but never like this. Every ship here was from a different time, a different war, a different race. Earth vessels with long-forgotten emblems stood beside alien crafts shaped like wings, claws, and spirals. The air was heavy with old energy, strange and quiet. Nothing moved, yet it felt like the entire graveyard was watching. Cole helped the alien widow sit near a broken landing ramp. She was cold to the touch, but still alive. Her wounds had reopened during the fall. The child knelt beside her, rubbing her hand and whispering softly in a language Cole couldn't understand. Cole scanned the area, searching for something, anything they could use to stay alive. Then his scanner buzzed. A pulsing energy signal was coming from deep inside the ship behind them. He hesitated, then entered. Inside, the ship was surprisingly intact. Dust floated in golden light. Panels blinked, weak but alive. The floor creaked under his boots. Strange writing lit up the walls. In the center of the room stood a single pod, half open, glowing faint blue. He stepped closer. As he neared, the pod flashed, and a voice rang out. Not human, not alien. Something in between. Gene match detected. Cole froze. A panel on the side of the pod slid open. Inside was a suit, ancient armor, unlike anything he had ever seen. Black and silver, shaped for a human frame, but marked with alien lines. It looked alive, humming faintly, waiting. He didn't touch it. Not yet. Instead, he turned back and found the widow standing at the doorway. She was leaning on the wall, barely standing, her breath shaky, but her eyes were full of recognition. She had seen this suit before. Her lips moved. Protector Cole shook his head. Just a soldier. She stepped forward and placed her hand on the armor's chest plate, lit up not for her, but for him. She turned to him and pointed. The message was clear. This armor had been waiting for him. She knew it. And now, so did he. He reached forward and touched it. The suit unfolded. Piece by piece, it wrapped around his body. Light, strong, perfectly fitting. His visor activated, and a new HUD appeared. With options he'd never seen, shield boost, stealth cloak, energy blade. It was like wearing power itself. Then the ship groaned. The child outside screamed. Cole rushed to the hatch. Drones. 2 of them had entered the crater, scanning. Beeping. Red lights sweeping across the ground. The widow tried to hide, pulling the child behind a broken engine, but the drones were closing in. Cole leaped from the ship, landing hard and fast. His new armor absorbed the shock. 1 drone turned. Cole raised his arm. Energy blade snapped. Open with a hiss, he moved faster than he ever had. 1 strike, and the drone dropped, sparks flying. The other fired plasma bolts. Cole dashed sideways, shields absorbing the hits. He charged, slicing through the second drone in a flash of blue light. Silence returned. The widow stared at him, eyes wide with something between awe and fear. The child ran to him, hugging his leg without a word. Cole looked down at his gauntlet. The suit's power was already draining fast. It was meant for one battle, not a war. He helped the widow to her feet again. We need to keep moving, he said. She nodded weakly, carried her once more. They crossed the graveyard, moving between massive hulls, past broken weapons the size of buildings. The suit's scanner guided them toward the far wall of the crater, where a large broken tower leaned like a fallen tree. Behind it, they found a hidden cave. Inside was warm, dry, lit by bioluminescent moss and glowing crystals. The widow looked around in surprise. Not fear this time, but something like recognition. She touched the walls. This was a temple, she whispered. Cole blinked. A temple? She nodded. Before the wars, before the stars broke. Cole looked around again. Not just rock, carvings, symbols, history. This wasn't just a hiding place. It was sacred. Now they had entered it. He set her down gently on a smooth stone ledge. The child lay beside her, tired and safe for now. Cole stood at the entrance, watching the sky. More drones would come, and behind them the hunters. Out. But he wasn't the same soldier who had entered this planet. He now wore armor older than any empire. He had saved a widow and her child from fire, storm, and machine, and he wasn't done yet. Tomorrow the enemy would return. But tonight, the protector had found his ground. The cave stayed quiet through the night, but Cole didn't close his eyes. Stood at the entrance, armor humming softly, watching the narrow trail below. His visor picked up motion in the distance, slow, steady, too careful to be a beast. Enemy scouts. The signal strength grew stronger with every minute. They were closing in. Behind him, the alien widow and her child slept on stone bedding softened with old temple cloth. The glow from the walls bathed them in warm light, peaceful for the first time. But peace wouldn't last. Not now. Cole touched his gauntlet, checking. The suit's power core less than 30% left, enough for one more fight, maybe 2. After that, he'd be just a man again. And men didn't win against hunter drones, unless they had a reason to. He turned to look at them again. The woman had her arm around the child, even in her sleep. She hadn't eaten in 2 days, hadn't healed. But she had refused to let go of her son, not even for rest. She had carried hope through fire. Now, Cole would carry the fight. A soft chime rang in his helmet. The scanner showed 6 life forms approaching. No drones this time. Soldiers. Real ones. One carried a long-range pulse cannon. Another had a heat-seeker scanner. They were prepared for everything except him. Cole stepped out of the cave. He walked down the slope alone, one man against many. The wind picked up, dry and cold, brushing over sharp rocks and fallen metal pieces. As he moved, the armor adjusted, joints locking tighter, blade glowing brighter. Voice crackled through his visor. Not English, but close. Human, surrender. We know what you carry. Cole didn't answer. They had no idea what he carried. They thought it was tech. Power, the hidden chamber's secrets. But it was more than that. He carried loyalty. He carried a promise. He wasn't letting go of it. Reached a broken pillar and took position. Enemies came into view. 6 tall, armored figures, weapons ready, heads turning slowly. One of them raised a scanner. Cole took the shot first. His energy blade spun through the air, slicing the scanner in half. The others opened fire. Cole rolled, shields flaring. Plasma bolts scorched the ground. He returned fire, 2 shots, 2 targets down. The third rushed him, swinging a shock spear. Cole ducked, countered, struck. Steel hit armor. Sparks flew. One by one they fell, but so did his power. 10%. 5. Then flicker. The suit let out a warning pulse. Shields gone. Energy low. Cole's breaths grew sharper. His left leg had taken a hit, bleeding inside the armor, but he kept moving. Right. He had to. The last enemy stood tall, their leader. Heavy cannon on one arm, armor thick as a wall. He didn't speak, he just aimed. Cole stood still, no shield, no cover. Then he whispered 2 words. For them, and charged. The blast hit his shoulder, throwing him back. Pain exploded through his body. The armor cracked. His helmet flickered, but he got up. One more swing. His blade hummed. And he ran again. The enemy fired, missed. Cole leapt forward, blade outstretched. It pierced the chest plate. The leader fell, and the battlefield fell silent. Cole dropped to one knee. Smoke rose from the ground. His armor hissed and opened at the seams. His body gave out. He collapsed. Moments passed. Then footsteps, soft, light. The widow had come. She dropped beside him, lifting his head with shaking hands. Her eyes were full of terror, sadness, but also pride. The child ran to his side, tears falling. Cole tried to speak. His voice was cracked and dry. Did I protect you? The widow nodded, touching her forehead to his. She whispered a word into his ear. One he didn't understand, but felt. He smiled weakly. Then the suit blinked, one final pulse, and something strange happened. The armor began to glow, wrapping Cole in soft blue light, not death. Destruction, but healing. Ancient tech inside the suit recognized what he had done. Not just as a warrior, but as a guardian. The cracks closed. His breath steadied. His wounds cooled. The widow pulled back, eyes wide in shock. The child gasped. Cole opened his eyes again. And for the first time, he truly understood. This wasn't just armor, it was a gift, given to protect life, not take it. He rose slowly, the suit now part of him. He looked down the trail, more would come. But this time, they wouldn't be fighting a broken soldier. They would face a protector. Awakened by purpose, he wasn't backing down. The battlefield was quiet now. Smoke drifted across the stone trail like lazy fog. Burnt trees stood like silent statues, and broken weapons lay scattered among the rocks. The enemy patrol was gone, destroyed by one man who refused to walk. Away, Cole stood at the edge of the cliff, armor cracked, but glowing softly. His breath was slow, calm. His body ached, but he was alive. Behind him, the cave glowed warm and gold. Still untouched by the storm, the alien widow and her child stepped out into the light. She walked slowly. Leaning on a wooden stick Cole had shaped for her from a fallen branch. Her leg was still weak, but healing. The child held her other hand and smiled up at her, then ran forward, straight into Cole's arms. Cole knelt and lifted him with a quiet laugh. Spinning the little boy once before setting him down again, the boy grabbed his wrist and held on tight, like he never wanted to let go. The widow stopped a few steps away. Her eyes searched Cole's face. Then she did something she hadn't done since they met. She bowed her head and placed her hand over her chest. A gesture of honor, of respect. Then she looked him in the eyes and said, just one word in clear, soft English, home. Cole's chest tightened. He didn't ask how she learned the word. He didn't ask why she said it now. He just nodded. Yes, this was home now. Not the planet, not the ruins, not the caves or ships. Them they were home. For days after, they stayed hidden in the ancient cave temple, gathering supplies from the graveyard above. Cole repaired the suit's outer shell with scavenged plating. The widow used moss and crystal to treat wounds, and the child helped, copying her movements with wide, serious eyes. The three of them began to move like a unit, not just survivors, but a small family held together by trust and survival. Then one morning, a signal reached them. Faint, human frequency. Cole's wrist scanner picked it up while he was cleaning a fusion cell. He stared at it for a long time. It was a call from an orbiting ship, a rescue cruiser they were searching for. Survivors, and they were close. Cole walked outside and stared at the sky. He could activate the emergency beacon now. They'd come. They'd see the flare. They'd land. He could leave this broken world behind, but he didn't press the button. Not yet. He turned and looked back into the cave at the woman carefully cooking root bread over a soft crystal flame, and at the child trying to fold a blanket like he had seen Cole do the night before. They had nowhere to go. No planet, no home, no future without him, and he didn't want a future. Without them, the beacon could wait. Cole turned it off. That evening, as the sun bled across the mountains, they sat around a small fire. The child was curled against Cole's arm, half asleep. The widow sat close, their shoulders brushing. She looked up at the stars, then at him. She spoke again, not English, but her voice was softer than before. She reached for his hand. He let her take it then. She placed it on her chest, over her heart, closed her eyes. He didn't need translation. She was offering him something more than thanks, something more than survival. She was offering her life to walk beside him, to trust him, to love him. Cole looked at her, and for the first time in years, he felt warmth that had nothing to do with fire or sunlight. He nodded once. She smiled. Time passed. Cole built a small shelter beside the cave. Piece by piece, using metal and stone from the graveyard, he carved. Steps into the rocks, grew food near the edge of the crater. Taught the child how to use tools. He stopped counting the days. No more battles came. No more soldiers. Only peace. One morning, the boy ran in shouting. His hand held a small metal badge. Old Earth Military. He'd found it in the dirt. Cole took it slowly, then handed it back. You keep it, he said. You're the brave one. The boy smiled and pinned it on his tunic, chest high like a proud soldier. The widow watched from the doorway, arms crossed, eyes shining. This wasn't war anymore. This was a beginning. Cole stood beside her. They looked out over the land that once held nothing but wreckage and silence. Now, it held something. Stronger family, and no matter what else came their way this time, they'd face it together.